Now, he goes into what he's calling, the administration is calling these independent credentialing bodies. So they're talking about creating these ICBs that can help law enforcement be held accountable. So they're saying a couple things. One, law enforcement agencies must constantly assess and improve their practices, but they can accelerate these assessments by doing these other things. So here's how these types of orders work. This is a quick refresher on federalism. So in the United States, we kind of have two parallel operations of government. We've got the federal government and you have your state, local government. The federal government does certain things. The rest of the powers that are not enumerated are they're back down to the states. So the states have a lot of rights, which means that the federal government can't come in and tell your state how to run their law enforcement agency. They can't do it. The Trump administration can't come into Arizona or into Scottsdale and say, Scottsdale PD, you need to do this. They can't do it. It's a separation of powers thing. But what they can do is they can provide incentives for the Scottsdale Police Department to get into compliance with what the federal administration works. They can create incentives to do that. They can't mandate it, but they can say, we're going to give you a bunch of money if you do things the way that we ask you to do it. They have the power of the purse is what we call it. They've got the purse. They've got the checkbook. They can set rules and say, if you want some of this money, you got to do things our way. And so when we see that in this executive order, that's what this paragraph is fleshing out. The state and local agencies must do it, but they can accelerate these things by playing ball here. So they're trying to establish these ICBs, these independent credentialing bodies that can address and correct these deficiencies within these local law enforcement agencies, and they're going to try to do it in a proactive manner. So they're going to try to identify and correct the problems before they become problems. And that's the section that is creating these bodies. Now, as I explained previously, this paragraph B here is saying if you play ball, you get money. So as long as you get certified by the Attorney General, then they will go ahead and give you some money. And as long as you comply with these standards. All right, so then now what are we talking about? Now what are we talking about specifically when we're talking about getting credentialed by the Attorney General? So here is what they are looking for. And I've got different colors, different highlights here. And so here we've got the independent credentialing bodies. This is what they're looking for. Policies and training regarding the use of force and de-escalation techniques. So the Department of Justice is going to say, Mr. Mrs. Law Enforcement Agency in small podunk town in the middle of anywhere, you're doing things a certain way. We're going to ask you to do things a different way. If you do things our way, we're going to give you funding to do that. Here's how we want you to do things. You need policies and training regarding use of force and de-escalation techniques. Now, the reason I put that in red is because I don't know what that even means, and I think it's stupid. I think it's lame. I don't know what this is going to do to solve any of these problems. I don't know what de-escalation techniques or use of force training would have done for Officer Rolfe in the Ray Shard case. I don't know what it would have done for Derek Chauvin in the George Floyd case. Would it have done anything for the Breonna Taylor case if these guys knew more about the rules or they knew more about de-escalation? Would it have changed the outcome in any of those things? I don't think so at all. I mean, I don't even know how you make a good argument for that, other than they would not have started to engage in those conflicts. If that's what that means, if that means that they're not going to enforce stupid things or get into those types of situations to begin with, then that's great. But I don't think that's the real problem. The real problem is not de-escalation. The real problem is that these cops want escalation. They want to get out there and get rowdy. They want that adrenaline rush. They want to get out there and smash things and break things. Where de-escalation would be helpful, it would be in identifying personalities that are de-escalation oriented. And it's saying if you are an officer and you haven't gone through a mental health screening, or we've identified that you are somebody who likes to break things, you don't get to be a cop. But that's not what this is saying. This is saying that they're just going to do more training is the answer. More training. More training's going to solve the problem. I don't think so. I think this is a more fundamental problem. I don't think it's the cops that they don't know what to do. I just think it's they're predisposed to do the wrong thing. Not because of a lack of training, but because it's a personality type. It's a mental issue. It's the wrong people on the force, people who are predisposed to getting in these conflicts. So I wasn't really happy with that. I thought it was kind of dumb, throwaway language. I don't even know what that means. More policies and training for de-escalation.